Hey everybody, Denskill here. Hope you're having a good day. Today's episode is about my great gear purge of 2021. I just recently liquidated a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to talk about it in this here episode. Stick around. So, ongoing watchers of my channel will know from my previous live stream that I was putting up a couple guitars for sale, having just bought a Les Paul custom from 1997. So those deals are done, and now I have now sold my PRS CE24 and my Ibanez Pia in Panther Pink. And today's video is about getting rid of gear and some of the lessons that I've learned along the way. So the process of selling the equipment went pretty smooth. I did pretty much all of it online through a mix of Reverb and Facebook. The experience is what you would expect. Most people were really cool and came through. I had to deal with a couple flakes here and there, but it went really good overall. And I sold my stuff pretty quick, within about a week and a half, all said and done. Actually, my Pia took about 3 weeks to sell since that last video. Now, you might have seen my previous live stream where I was flashing my new boards there, and that's also been part of this gear purge. So, yeah, like I said, the process was pretty good overall, and what worked for me well was having some detailed ads and lots of pictures and just communicating quickly with any interested buyers. So that went pretty well. Now, being at the tail end of the process with everything absolutely sold, there's a couple lessons, 5 lessons that I've learned along the way when it comes to selling and purging gear. So please don't take this as advice or suggestions or anything like that. Your own mileage might vary. This is just stuff that I learned along the way. Lesson number 1 that I picked up along the way was that it was easier for me to sell gear from a couple different viewpoints where I found some overlap and redundancy in my collection. So, for example, in the case of my PRS CE24, I already have a PRS Custom 24, and they're pretty much close enough. And when it came to my pedal boards, I had a couple different fuzz pedals and overdrives and boosts and things like that, and modulation effects. So I just trimmed it down to one set of those types of pedals, depending on the board, and was able to clear out an entire board that way. Looking at my collection now, yes, there is still some redundancy and overlap, but it's manageable and it's okay for me. Um, I do have 2 Strats and 3 different Les Pauls, a custom, a standard Les Paul, and a special. But to me, they're different enough that they serve their own purpose and justify their spot in my collection. So, yeah, it just made it easier for me to get rid of stuff emotionally and intellectually where I had some overlap and redundancy. The second lesson I learned was that with looking at my gear now, after all the smoke is cleared and everything is gone, what I'm left with is stuff that really just kind of more fits my personality in terms of my guitar style, my own living style, and my productive goals. There's a harmony now between the stuff that I have and what I actually play and use it for. For example, I'm in a cover band or I'm starting one up, so I've got equipment now that is really aimed at that goal. I still do a bunch of recordings, so my bases are covered there as well. And it just feels good to have sort of a unity of purpose between the equipment that I have and what I'm actually using it for and what I'm doing with it. The third lesson I picked up is that, and this is something that I'm still struggling with, but these are just material objects. This is just a bunch of wood and metal and electronics and stuff like that. Same with the pedals, right? They're just, devices, right? It's hard for me to not get too sentimental about certain objects, but, I kind of can't help it. But I do remember in my lesson here that, the lesson I learned is that, the creativity that we all have it does come from within. And, you really can do more with less because it all comes from within. You don't need as many things around you, obstructing your creativity. They can sometimes be a distraction. So having less gear and just playing more and being more productive that way, makes me think less about gear and makes me appreciate more of what I have in front of me and the tools. So these are just objects. I just use them to get their job to get the job done, which is putting out, you know, my creativity and channeling that. So lesson number 4 that I learned is essentially the fact that now that I've trimmed everything down to the bone, I don't really have any wiggle room left in terms of selling something to buy something else. I don't have any equipment that I'm willing to part with. Everything that I have is absolutely essential. Um, 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 I will be and have been using everything that I have. So for me to get rid of something now would be equivalent to biting off my own nose to spite my face. Or, you know, if I'm going to purchase anything new, I have to do it the old fashioned way and save up enough to earn it and buy it. I don't have any assets right now that I'd be willing to liquidate. I just liquidated everything that I'm not going to be using or keeping. So what I have left is all I have left. So, in one aspect, that is helping me with my gear acquisition syndrome. And I don't really want or need anything. That's what I have is what I have. So, it's kind of tied to one of the other lessons there. And the last lesson I've learned is that through the process of trimming down and slimming up, I've achieved and I've gotten some sort of happiness and satisfaction. I feel like I've achieved a goal, goal, in a sense. I've gotten to where I need to be in terms of my tone. Goal, having, you know, tested what I have and what I'm keeping on, you know, various recordings and various opportunities to jam that I've had, and I'm creating opportunities to further test the equipment that I have. Again, tied to some of the other goals here, what I have is fit for my purpose, and that kind of makes me happy in a way. It satisfies this sort of OCD type itch that I have in the back of my head. And you know, like I said, I'm not thinking about gear as much. I'm thinking about playing more. I'm practicing all the new tunes that I have to learn for my cover band, and working on my jazz chops in another project. So you know, things are looking great. So I'm really happy and satisfied that way, and I'm using my stuff a lot more. Hopefully, real you know, unlocking a lot more potential in my playing and getting better along the way. So with that, folks, this was a bit of a rambly video, but yeah, those are my 5 lessons that I learned after my great gear purge. I feel good overall about it. Leaner, meaner, you know, trimmer and fitter and all that stuff. So it was a success, but yeah, there's some painful parts about letting go of some of that gear. I'd love to hear your comments. You know, have you ever had trouble letting go of something or just been forced to sell something to make room for something else? That was my situation with the Pia there. I had to ask myself, do I want an Ibanez Steve Vai Pia signature guitar in pink, or do I want a Les Paul custom in white? And yeah, I made my decision. What would yours be? Let me know what you guys think, and if you haven't had any pieces that have gone out, and if you've ever done the dreaded buyback. I've been guilty of that too, where I've sold a few guitars and regretted it and ended up purchasing them back sometime later. So I'd love to hear what you guys have in terms of experience with that. Hope you're all doing well. Take care and stay safe. Have a great day, folks. Denskill out.